Historical Society on BCTV is supported in part by the Highlands at Wyomissing.
Hello and welcome to the monthly program of the Historical Society of Berks County. I'm your host, George M. Miser IX, President of the Historical Society of Berks County and publisher of the Historical Review of Berks County, the Society's quarterly magazine in print since October of 1935. Not incidentally, most back issues of this review are available from the late 1930s to the present time. It should be noted that this program is telecast live on the first Wednesday of each month at 7. It repeats Friday at 10, Saturday at 6, and this coming Sunday morning at 9 a.m. Welcome all to our October 2010 program. Seated to my right is Kimberly Richards, the Society's archivist, and on the other side, Vicki Hefner, our educational curator.
The Society and Henry Johnson Library and Museum gift shop are open Tuesday through Saturday from 9 to 4. Our gift shop is full of lots of Reading and Berks County histories, pre-owned items. We have lots of crafts, artwork, you name it, we have it. Stop on in and get ready for Christmas.
Yes. We remind viewers that for $40 a year, you can be one of us, a member of the Historical Society of Berks County. Membership in the Society includes our prize-winning quarterly magazine, the Historical Review of Berks County. Membership includes unlimited use of the museum and library. Incidentally, family memberships, all living in the same house, are $50 a year.
And while we're on the subject of memberships, we remind you that Berks Community Television, BCTV, is a survivor in a tough venue and a unique entity in that it's interactive. We encourage you to call in with your questions and comments.
I'm going to just take a minute to comment on something, and you'll be hearing more about this later. BCTV's Oktoberfest is coming up. It's a 6-day affair, and it's October the 18th, which is a Monday, through October the 23rd, which is a Saturday. The auctions are 6 to 10 p.m. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and on Saturday the auction begins at 2 p.m. The sponsor for this year is the Greater Reading Merchandiser. The auction themes: Monday, October the 18th, family and home; Tuesday the 19th, recreation and leisure; Wednesday, October the 20th, dining out and entertainment; Thursday, October the 21st, Gallery of Crafts featuring the Reading Berks Guild of Craftsmen and Crafts-Ladies; Friday, October the 22nd, sports; and Saturday, October the 23rd, that's Saturday beginning at 2 p.m., mall merchants, BCT family, and celebrities. Why don't you call BCTV at 610-374-3065, that's 374-3065, or log on to www.bctv.org and register for the auction. You can watch at home and call in your bids. That's something that I have done a number of times. So that's Oktoberfest coming up. Remember, BCTV deserves and needs your support. So October the 18th to the 23rd, they'll be here before you know it. 6 to 10 every evening, Saturday 2 o'clock until it's over. Going ahead, as we speak, Volume 18 of The Passing Scene, the new book coming out, is being prepared for publication and release to Society members and the general public in November. It'll probably be sometime after November the 20th. It all depends how long it takes at the binder. Orders are now being taken at the Society. Book is $48, tax included. $55 mailed to any U.S. address. To reserve your copy of Volume 18, call the Society, 610-375-4375, to make your reservation. We remind you that there will be no reprints. Last year, the Volume 17 sold out in about 5 weeks, and people were calling up later wanting to know why they couldn't get one, and the answer is, well, the 17 went very, very fast. And once the books have been sold, there will be no more available. There will not be any reprints. And people say, well, why don't you reprint them? And the answer is, many times the demand might be 500 or 600 in the way of reprints, and it just isn't economically feasible to print that small number. You'd have to charge $65, $70 for the reprint, and we just wouldn't do that, and people wouldn't like to pay that much money anyhow. Anyhow, at this time, let's have some more of the sneak preview, which we started, I guess, last month or the month before, of some of the pictures that will be in Volume 18. This one's near and dear to my heart. That's the 15th and Perkiomen Avenue School, which is in the 1400 block. They tore that building down after the nasty fire in 1970 to make way for the northwest, or the northeast branch, I guess it is, of the Reading Public Library is on that site. That was a really, really neat building. It was actually at 1430 Perkiomen Avenue, built in 1893. That, you could look at that with that unusual belfry. That was a handsome, handsome building with marble, ornamental brick of 2 different colors. Really a splendid building. It won an architectural prize at the time that it was, after it was erected, and they sent pictures of that building to the World's Fair, and it was on display as one of the great school buildings of America. They had a special display on architecture at the World's Fair, the St. Louis World's Fair of 1904. What about this building out where it was? And the answer was that section about 1890 began to develop, and fella came in and built 172 homes, and in the early part of 1892, so needless to say, with all those homes, there were kids, and you had to educate them. They rented a box factory about a block away, which no longer stands, and they had the kids in the box factory for a while. Why that building was so fancy compared to most of the others, 2 of the school directors thought that it would reflect badly if they were to build a very simple building on that site, because it was on a main thoroughfare into Reading, Perkiomen Avenue. So that's why that building was a great deal more fancy than most of the other buildings in the city of Reading. It opened September the 11th, 1893, with 364 pupils occupying 8 large classrooms. The classrooms in that building were really very big. I taught 4th grade there 51 years ago. On the first floor, on the left hand, the east side of that building. Those rooms were really very big. Most of those old schools were designed for 50 kids. And some of them actually even had 60 during that time period. But they were basically designed for 50, and the ceilings were very high because of you didn't want to suffocate the kids in the hot weather. You want to have plenty of room for exhalation. The next one. Okay, we're on Penn Street. Neat picture. Penn Street, as some of us might remember, unfortunately, this is a little on the dark side on the screen. In the book, it won't be like that. I remember very well the Tom McGann building, which is the second one up on the left-hand side. Some people might remember Carlson Hats. The main building that many will remember is in the center of the picture, and that is Wittick's Music Store, 4-story building. And those who were around years back remember Alfred Seward, who taught there, taught keyboard there. He also wrote a Broadway play, a musical. Alfred Seward played the organ there at Christmas time. Many of us remember walking up Penn Street and standing in the street on the sidewalk watching him play in the big picture window on the 2nd floor. And as you go up the street, you see Lowe's Movie Theater. Lowe's was really one of the great theaters of the city of Reading. The Embassy, of course, was the best of them all as far as being ornate and being spectacular. But interesting thing about Lowe's that some people don't realize, or many people don't realize, it was one of 7 locations chosen to premiere Gone with the Wind. Huh? Yeah, so Reading was in the lineup with New York, Los Angeles, Boston, Atlanta, Cincinnati, Houston, and Reading. That's the Lowe's Theater. It closed in 1969 and was demolished in 1970. Okay, looks like we're on Perkiomen.
65.
What page?
65.
Okay. Oh, we're on Perkiomen. Okay, we're on Perkiomen Avenue. I cropped that picture rather considerably. so that people at home can get the detail. A number of interesting things there. Do you see about a third over on the left side of the screen, the back of a big farmhouse? That was a huge farm on Perkiomen Avenue. It was called Thanheim, and it was the farmhouse of a rather wealthy German farmer who had a vineyard out back. That farmhouse still stands. We're looking at the 18 to the 2000 block, but that farmhouse still stands at 1924 Perkiomen. It's now for sale. As I drove in tonight, I looked over, and the building is now for sale. Needless to say, the barn isn't there and the vineyard is gone, but that is a big, that's an apartment house today. But you drive by and you don't realize how really big that building is until you sort of stop at the sidewalk and look in the back. It goes back rather considerably. That was a very impressive building. Across this, and then we have the barn for that farm, and you see a sign on there for Cohen Brothers. They were on Penn Street on the south side in the 500 block. At one time, the Cohen Brothers had the largest jewelry store in the city of Reading. And across the street, can I see that screen? Across the street, you see Allenbach Cemetery. And I looked at that picture and showed it to someone, and they wanted to know what was that house back there that sort of rises above behind the barn. And the answer is that was, there were houses one time in what they called Cemetery Lane. And you people who live in that general section or who are familiar with that remember the old Omega Club, which was in a very large house. That was that large house that you see in the background.
70,
okay. Okay, the horseshoe curve for Reading. That's a rather impressive picture. This was made available to us by Michael Ray, and we had people looking at that and giving us advice. John Funk, Robert Warner, and William Bill Kauf Jr. Horseshoe Curve and Clapperthal Junction. Notice there are quite a few buildings there. Now today you wouldn't find anything there. Around 1952, you're looking at the main line of the Reading Railroad along the Schuylkill River at Clapperthal, below Reading, south of Reading. Not long after the new Valley Tower at West Reading was constructed around 1950 to control the modernized signal systems installed during that period, the Clapperthal Tower seen above was raised. The railroad over the course of time had made it a practice to get rid of buildings once they were abandoned because of upkeep and because of kids getting in there getting hurt. It was mainly a liability issue. So once a building was no longer used, it soon disappeared. This next one, you look at the original picture, again in the book, they show it really spectacularly. That's City Park. You look at the vegetation of that large plant on the left-hand side. Can you imagine having vegetation like that in the parks today? You're looking northward toward Walnut. I don't know whether it shows on the screen or not, but on the extreme right-hand corner should be the tower for the St. Joseph building.
Right here.
St. Joseph's Hospital. Okay, it does show. Yeah. At one time, when City Park had its own police, and they had those watch boxes that were made out of metal, sort of octagonal. Now that goes way back, but I remember those things. The parks were absolutely beautifully kept. The parks aren't quite as well kept today, very largely because the tax base has dropped a whole lot. A lot of these things were built at a time when Reading had a population of 119,000. And you had a lot more people paying tax to keep these things running. Now, I look at these huge parks and remember when I was a kid that those fellows would come out in a truck and mow those lawns by hand. I can't imagine that today, but they did. And then they were so proud one day at Bear Park when they came with a motorized, really motor on top of a real mower. It was like a Rube Goldberg special, but it sort of did the job. But parks like that, of course, I'm afraid we will no longer see. The next one. Yeah, this is a rare one. We know the date of this was undated when it came, but you're looking at about a 1908 Buick there on the road in in the foreground. That, we're looking down over the city of Reading, and it's about 1908. You see the Norman Tower dead center of the old Berks County Prison. The Berks County Prison was built about 1840, and they moved the prisoners out in 1932, and they started tearing the building down little by little. The city workers did that. There was a movement to try to save the facade to make it into a Soldiers Memorial, but it was Depression time in the 30s, and 1932 was the pits so far as the time of the Depression. 33 was probably the worst, but there was just no money for that sort of thing, so they began tearing it down, and they finally removed all the stone by 1937, the same year that they tore down the Mansion House Hotel at 5th and Penn. They both disappeared in 1937. Notice the bandstand, sort of like a little witch's hat there on the center left. That was the bandstand that was put up in the 1890s. I gave a talk one time, and there was a gentleman in the audience who said, "Mr. Miser, my daddy played the cornet there in 1897 when they dedicated that bandstand." And you see, you can see the circular paving there in the background, and that was part of the old racetrack. At one time, they had horse races in there when the Reading Fair was in the city park, and then after that was moved out in 1889 out to 11th Street. That became a place where they did bicycle racing. Some of you people remember Newbling's sporting goods store. Mr. Newbling was a champion bicycle rider. The next one. We thank our good friend Larry Soltis for this. This is the elk. Many of us can picture, I'm sure, the elk statue that used to be, or the elk fountain that used to be in City Park. Well, by the time that these pictures were taken in the late 40s and the early 50s, the foundation was gone, the fountain itself was gone, and that poor elk just sort of sat up there minus his antlers. And people took advantage of that thing for picture taking. A lot of people would sit on his back to have the picture taken. And the people ask, is that the same elk that used to be at the Elks? And the answer is no. They existed at the same time for many, many years. This elk came to us from New York City. The one at the Elks was made by Oreste Brunacardi, a Reading sculptor who used to be on North 8th Street. Let's take a little break, and I think you have a message for us.
A message for you? Well, I have lots of messages.
Okay.
Let's start off with Gift Shop. We've got a sale this month. Well, we have sales every month. 10% off items include Nancy Spiker pottery. We just actually got a new shipment of her pottery in, especially her Christmas pottery, which is really kind of nifty. We also have 10% off Trudy Kaufman's Sharon Schnitt.
Schnitter?
I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right.
You're close.
Okay. This is one of a couple examples we have in the gift shop. We also have Daniel Strausser's Woodcrafts, which we featured on another one of our shows. For those of you who do enjoy reading, we have The Hanging of Susanna Cox by Patricia Ernest Sauter and Russell and Corinne Ernest, Indian Paths of Pennsylvania by Paul Wallace, and in honor of Halloween, all of Charlie Adams' ghost books are on sale, 10% off. So stop on by the gift store and take a look at what we have. Okay, that's done. So for those of you who weren't able to participate, this past Saturday we hosted our 4 Centuries and Berks Counties tour. It was in Bern Township this year, and we've gotten a lot of good reviews back saying it's probably one of the best that we've done.
Spectacular turnout.
Yeah, we pretty much sold out, which is impressive. It really was good. Simon would want me to, and I will, thank the following sponsors who helped with our tour. Associated Construction, Comcast, the HSBC Auxiliary, Land Display, M&T Bank, Phoebe Burks, Reading Bakery Systems, Reese, The Highlands, Topelhocken Nursery, UGI, Vist Insurance, William G. Cook and Associates, Affinity Bank, Berkshire Bank, Carpenter, Eschbach Masonry, Misano Architects, Reading Eagle Press, our signature sponsor Winehammer, and a special thanks goes out to Easton Coach for their driver and their bus. They were kind of late, a little late and missed getting into our tour booklet. We really wanted to thank them and everybody who came out and participated on that day, including the volunteers and all of the homeowners. It was really impressive.
Let me break in just for 1 second, Kim. There's a home viewer. Yes, home viewer.
Hello there.
Hello.
Yeah, I want to ask you about years back when the trolleys ran up to, wasn't there a hotel up at the tower?
At the tower, there were a couple of hotels. You're talking about the Gravity Railroad that went up to the Summit House, which was laterally called the Tower Hotel.
Okay.
Torn down in 1959 and built, what, 1890?
Well, I wonder, one question, and I have one more thing. Why they never put anything back up there, you know, any kind of building at all or hotel or anything. I'm just amazed that they just let that sit.
Well, at the time the main attraction on the Gravity was the tower. Now, not the Tower Hotel, but the tower. Right. And with that burning, they lost the main attraction that happened to be there. They were going to, this was 1923 when that fire occurred, they were going to use the Tower Hotel or the Summit House Hotel as the focal point on top. But what happened when the place closed in 1920 for Prohibition, it was like neglected for 3 years. A lot of the windows were broken, and it was
no
really
booze. They couldn't sell no drinks up there.
That's right.
That hurt them.
That hurt a whole lot.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, okay. One more thing. I mentioned this before to some other groups, and maybe you, being influential and somebody listening, could maybe spit a bug in someone's ear. You're talking about City Park earlier. Mm-hmm. If you remember, do you remember the Indian Trail? We always played going up to the pagoda. There was called the Indian Trail.
Yeah, that path going up to the.
Right. It goes straight up from City Park up to the pagoda. Now, my thought is, I had this for years now, why couldn't they build something like a ski lift? You don't have to go into a big deal. Just a ski lift that lifts up from City Park right up to the pagoda. Maybe charge $1 or $2 for the people that can't get up there to see this pagoda. I think that would be a beautiful attraction for people. What do you think of that idea? I mean, it's straight up the hill. And there ain't a whole lot of money to run them, you know.
No, it really isn't. One of the problems that you do have is the money issue is...
Okay, I'm not meaning only the city. Let's say some private outfit could get involved and just lease the land, not buy it, lease the land from the city. That would be a money maker. And then, you know, they made such a terrible... spot up there at the pagoda. I was shocked when I seen all those trees down in front of the pagoda.
Well, actually, they cut those trees down because people would go up there to take pictures, and the trees were so high, you went up there, it was like looking into a jungle. I was appalled when I took someone from Germany up there, and I hadn't been up for a while, and I stood there, and there was no place to take a picture. The trees were absolutely in the way.
Even down below, I mean, I can't, that's really... steep there. It goes down, really slopes down. Even the trees were that high down there.
Yeah, because you went down there and you were looking straight up into the trees.
See, I thought the idea was to put something down there. They were going to build something down there. Somebody mentioned that they were going to build something up there.
Well, they were going to put like a series of gardens in there, and that might still happen over the course of time, but all of these things take money.
You see how those steps are, that they're all blocked off? You can't walk down there like you used to be able to walk down.
So they repaired them.
The side of the pagoda, when you go down them steps, and then the next set of steps that goes down into where I'm telling you about all the trees down, that's all blocked off. They never fixed those steps. You can't walk down there.
I have to check the next time I go up.
It's all roped off and crossed off because you can't. All the steps are decaying away down below. You know, we used to be able to walk down there to the Indian Trail and everything.
Yeah.
That's all that decayed. Yeah, I was up there. I was shocked how terrible it is. But I just thought that would bring some business for the poor people or people that don't have no way to get up there. They can't get up to the pagoda. You'd have to take a cab up, you know what I mean, if you don't drive.
Yeah.
So there you could have a thing that promoted, maybe even have it work by some of the solar-type energy. I mean, it's just something to think about. I never heard it mentioned. I had the idea 10 years ago, never said anything to anybody.
Well, listen, we thank you for calling in.
Okay, I appreciate you thinking about it. Maybe pass some, maybe spit a bug in someone's ear. That's a possibility of doing it. Okay, buddy.
We thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Take care. We have another home viewer. Yes, home viewer, you're on.
Yes, Mr. Miser, I was wondering if you could give me any information on the property I live on. I'm on the corner of 7th and Franklin in West Reading, across from the Sacred Heart School. And I was told years ago that it used to be a dairy.
At 7th and Franklin in West Reading.
Yeah.
That's not...
It used to be Dickerson's barbershop.
Okay, the dairy, you have me on that. I'm going to have to check that out. I really can't say. And I taught for years walking distance from there. But I'm not picturing where that dairy would have been. I'll check some old... Call the society sometime, and maybe I'll have an answer for you, because this old city directories would certainly give you the answer to that question. The Historical Society has Reading city directories from 1856 up to almost the present time, and if something existed in the city of Reading, including West Reading, it would be in those old directories. And after 1929, they have a listing in the back, street by street, number by number, what was there. So if something existed going back to 1929 and a little bit later, that can be traced without any difficulty.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much.
You bet.
Bye-bye.
We'll get to upcoming events at the Society. This Saturday, which is October 9th, is our second Saturday program. This month's lecture will be given by Dr. Alan Wiebmeyer. I hope I got that right. He's the Associate Director of Research at the Schwenkfelder Library and Heritage Center. His lecture is entitled Schwenkfelder Migration and Pietistic Movement. He will discuss the origins of the Schwenkfelders, their immigration and settlement in southeastern Pennsylvania from 1734 to the present day. He will also include some of the religious beliefs that distinguish the Schwenkfelders from other colonial German immigrant Protestant groups.
Yeah, the Schwenkfelders were actually in Berks County, right against the border. It was at Washington Township. There was a little Schwenkfelder church, which is now gone, but the cemetery is still there. The Schwenkfelders, the Pennsburg, that school over in Pennsburg is a Schwenkfelder institution, and it has come a long way in spite of the fact that they lost Old Main a couple of years ago to fire. They have a very fine museum there and library, and they have very good programs. The people, they do a lot of things on Pennsylvania German. Yep. And that should be a very interesting talk. So we had Schwenkfelders in Berks County.
Yes. This Saturday, October 9th, is also our Hendel Open House between 11 and 3. If you have not seen the Hendel House, please stop in for a visit. Tuesday, October 12th, the Auxiliary will be hosting a trip to Stahl Pottery with guest lecturer Ann Goda. They will also include a trip to Schwenkfelder Library and Heritage Center.
Oh, same trip.
The trip does include lunch, and consider becoming a member of the Auxiliary. Thursday, October 28th at 7 o'clock, we will host our annual meeting in the auditorium. This year's guest speaker is our own, George Miser.
Yes, this year for that program, it's open to the public. What's the date on that again?
It's the 28th.
The 28th. I'm going to be showing pictures that I haven't shown for a long, long time, and it'll be a trip to Carsonia Park. And there are some rare color pictures there that people have never seen. Some really great things of Carsonia, going back to its beginning in 1896.
And then finishing out our month, on October 30th, we have, and I have the invitation, the annual Mad Hatter's Masquerade. There's going to be entertainment, wine, hors d'oeuvres by Ted and Carl. Come in costume for your chance to win prizes. Tickets are $25 a person, and we ask that you RSVP by October 20th.
You don't have to costume if you don't want to.
We encourage it.
We encourage it, absolutely, but you don't have to. Just wear a dumb hat and you have a chance for a prize. And the prizes last year were very impressive.
They were. There's also going to be a silent auction. So it's going to.
Now, what's that date again for the Mad Hatter? That's
the Mad Hatter is Saturday, October 30th.
Saturday, October the 30th. That'll be a good affair. It always is. Okay, we have a little break here. I believe we have an announcement.
You're watching the Historical Society of Berks County on hsbctv.org. Be informed, be involved, be a member. For membership information, go to www.bctv.org/support/membership. For other information on local heritage societies and local history, go to bctv.org. The Historical Society of Berks County on bctv.org is underwritten by the Highlands. To find out how you and your business can support a program on BCTV, go to bctv.org.
I believe we have a home viewer. Home viewer, are you still there? Home viewer?
Yes.
Okay, your question.
I was wondering what you could tell me about Charming Forge. I think it's out in the Wilmersdorf area.
1.9 miles north of Wilmersdorf. Charming Forge had a forge at one time. It was right next to the old covered bridge that you would cross to go into to enter the property from Wilmersdorf. You go up to Wilmersdorf, you turn right. It's 1.9 miles from Wilmersdorf proper. Charming Forge was one of the great mansions of Berks County. Did the sale occur yet? There's going to be an auction
it's
there.
still up on Sotheby's.
Oh,
the auction happened for Pook and Pook, but the Sotheby's auction, I think, is still coming up.
Still coming up. We went there years ago. Earl Eibach, the Wilmersdorf historian, and I went to Charming Forge when they had public sale the last time, and we made an hour video, which we showed on BCTV. It was made for BCTV. I should get that thing out again, because the Charming Forge that was on that video doesn't really exist anymore. They brought in fine furniture, period furniture, and it is a spectacular place to visit. If you've never seen Charming Forge, it's worth a drive-by. Like many of those old iron villages, there were stone cabins along the road going to the main forge building itself, and the company store building is still there. The workers like a bunkhouse is still there. The office building still exists. There was a nice grist mill that doesn't exist. The Union Canal had a double lock at Charming Forge, and they also used the water at Charming Forge to manufacture electricity for Wilmersdorf years back. Go up, heading towards Lebanon, go up 222, turn right, and you'll see a sign at Wilmersdorf, takes you right back to Charming Forge. It's one of the great homes of Berks County. It's one of the great homes of Pennsylvania.
Do they offer tours there daily?
No, but the place has been sold. The fellow who restored it, they wanted to move elsewhere because they really came from outside the area, and I guess as they're getting older, they wanted to go back again to where it was they had been previously. So that the Historical Society visited Charming Forge a couple of times. We even had we had like a
2 years ago, the Four Centuries tour.
Well, 2 years ago, the Four Centuries tour went there, but we also had a fundraiser there at Charming Forge, which was very successful. The answer is no, you can't get in right now, but depending who the next owner is, maybe they'll open it again.
Do you know when it was operational as a forge?
All forges in Berks County died about the time of the Civil War. It was still standing, I think, in 1911 in a derelict condition. It was a small stone building on the right-hand side as you would go in from Wilmersdorf, right where the water is, because you had to have water for a forge. That has not been been operational really since the Civil War period.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
Bye-bye.
Mrs. Hefner, I believe you have a message for us.
Yes, George. On Saturday, November the 6th, will be our 13th annual Great Grandparents' House.
13th.
13th. And in honor of the 13th annual, we will be celebrating life during the colonial period, which is a first for this particular program. We've usually focused on the 1900s, so I'm excited to learn about and teach also some new things from the colonial period. You see in front of me a few of the activities that we will be doing for my great-grandparents' house. We have about 15 hands-on activities, including potato candy, spool and bead ornaments, quill pen writing, herbal vinegars, silhouettes, a Christmas tree ornament, card weaving, vegetable printing, straw wreaths, heart pin cushion. We'll be making a felt blotter to go along with the quill pen writing, as well as churning ice cream. The event is free and open to the public. It runs from 10 until 3 on Saturday, November the 6th, and it is sponsored by the Gerlin Foundation, and they have sponsored it almost from the start.
From the beginning, yes.
And very exciting for this particular event, our Settlers Cabin in the permanent exhibit area of our museum has been closed for over a year. Our museum curator, Joshua Blay, is hard at work, and we plan to reopen it on Saturday, November the 6th as part of the Grandparents' Day event.
What's that date again, Vicki?
Saturday, November the 6th.
And it starts at?
10 o'clock.
And runs until?
3.
And the cost?
Free.
It's absolutely free.
Absolutely free.
Yes, I always look forward to that, especially with the homemade ice cream. Okay, thank you, Vicki. I'll show about 4 or 5 pictures and we'll zip back.
Go for it.
Okay, let's resume some of the photographs, please. Our good friend Gertrude Sternberg, as a young woman. Gertrude Sternberg lived all of her life at Sterling right across from the entrance to Charles Evans Cemetery on Center Avenue. Gertrude Sternberg was born in 1899, and she lived until 1996. She lived a good long life, as did many of her forebears. She always told the story that between her grandfather, her dad, and herself, they were around during some part of the lifetime of every president of the United States, from George Washington to Bill Clinton. Mm-hmm. That was incredible. See, how can that possibly be? Well, George Washington died in 1799, and Grandpop was born in 1796. And Gertrude lived up to Bill Clinton's time. Part of the answer to that strange circumstance is that the first wife of both her father and her grandfather passed away, and they married a second time. Someone of childbearing years, so that there was a second family involved there. Anyhow, Gertrude was a wonderful woman. She had a real interest in the arts. She was very supportive of the arts, particularly the Reading Symphony Orchestra. She was an accomplished pianist, and what I found most interesting about Sterling during her time was that there was always activity there. No matter when you went, there was something going on. She would have visitors all the time. Willie Richter, who was one of the great pianists of Pennsylvania during his time, was a regular visitor there, as were other people who had musical interests. She would invite some of the young musicians, if they had a little time off, just come over to Sterling, sit around, enjoy yourself, take it easy for a while, get away from the other people. There was always activity there at Sterling when she was there. The next picture, please. This was Gertrude in the latter part of her life. She's sitting with her piano in the one music room. And she always had 2 pianos. There was always music in that house, and particularly piano music. She brought she had a way of inducing people to come to Sterling, whether they were vocalists, whether they were pianists, whether they were violinists. If she wanted someone to be there, she somehow or another managed that they got there. So we had the opportunity, many of us who knew Gertrude, to get to hear some of the great people in a very intimate setting in her whatever that was. I guess it was the parlor, the central parlor. It was a great place to visit during her lifetime. The next one. Now these are rare pictures. I'm not sure the exact time that they were taken, but they probably went back to about the year 1900. That is what Sterling looked like from the library, looking over into that grand assembly room where the people sat for the concerts. It was really high Victorian. Now, I don't know whether the home viewers can see this, but in the back there's like a sitting arrangement, and above it is a painting. That painting was the very famous one by Ben Austrian, A Day's Hunt. The Day's Hunt was an extraordinary painting. It was painted by Ben Austrian when he was still very, very young. I'm just trying to, completed in 1899 when he was born in he was 29 years old when that painting was made. He was paid the greatest amount ever given to a living American artist for a still life painting. It was called A Day's Hunt, and it was some game hanging on a hook on the side of a barn door. It sold for $2,500. At the time that Ben Austrian painted that thing, that would have bought you 2 nice houses in the city of Reading. Because you could, in the 1890s, 1900, you could buy a row home in the city of Reading for $995, including the stove in the basement. So that was an extraordinary picture. The next one, please.
The stoves came extra?
Well, some places, yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Isn't that spectacular? That again is high Victorian, and this gives you a slightly better view of A Day's Hunt. Where is The Day's Hunt today? We don't know. It disappeared. What happened was when the second Mrs. Sternberg passed away, things were in somewhat of a turmoil. Remember, there were 2 families, the first family, the second family, and I guess for estate settling purposes, they had to have option, and somehow in all that confusion, the painting disappeared. So that was a rather famous painting. There is a picture of him, I think it's in volume 16, where he's painting it. He's standing in front of the easel with The Day's Hunt on the easel, and he is painting it. The most money, $2,500 in 1899, ever paid to a living American artist for a still life, and it was there on Center Avenue in Reading. We have some more announcements for us, Kim.
Oh, yeah, sure. First of all, Skip, the Society and the Library would like to send out our well wishes to Kim Longlot. First off, Kim is recovering from an injury she sustained at home over Labor Day weekend. She is up and about, and we did see her at the 4 Centuries tour. We can't wait for her to come back to work, so we hope that her recovery is going well. We also want to send out our well wishes to Gloria Miser, who will be having her torn meniscus fixed tomorrow morning. We hope that she's allowed to take a break and recover nicely so she can return, and we can see her smiling face. George. October snuck up on me, but October is National Archives Month. It happens every year. This is the time of year that we ask you to, actually we encourage you to come in and get to know your friendly neighborhood archivist. That would be me. Assistant Archivist Lisa Adams, our Honorary Assistant Archivist Gloria Miser, and all of our volunteers at the library. This year's theme is making connections through archives and imagination. So come on down and make some connections with our collections. We have a number of wonderful archival collections that are just now being uncovered. We're always uncovering new collections. If you're interested in learning about the, Berks County's early judicial system, you can check out our archival collection 28, which is miscellaneous court records, or 56, which is J. Bennett Nolan court records. We don't know what's in there. It's anybody's guess, so come on down and take a look. We also have, if you're interested in learning more about the Union Canal, we have literally thousands of original documents from the Union Canal Company executives that came from the state archives. You know, if you want to make a bigger connection with our collection, we're always looking for volunteers. Volunteers assist researchers in a number of ways, not just by providing material. Anything that you do in the library, whether it's, you know, doing a research request or processing a collection immediately becomes available to the researchers, and it really helps people with their research. The September round of donations has created a serious backlog in processing, so any help that you can give us will be greatly appreciated.
Can you use some volunteers?
We could. Before we go to the home viewer, I'm just going to finish up because I am almost done. On the note of the volunteers, please keep in mind we have officially placed our order for the high-density shelving, which means, I have pictures, the high-density shelving, for those of you who don't know, little pictures, is basically shelving that sits on rollers that we can crank back and forth. Because they are on rollers, we only need one access aisle, so we can fill the remaining aisles with shelving. We met with Jeff Fuller at Storage Concepts to sign our quote and pick our colors. Our colors are going to be oak and maroon.
That'll actually double the storage space practically.
Pretty much, double to triple. On behalf of the Society and the volunteers at the Henry Johnson Library, would like to extend a heartfelt thank you to the Why I'm Missing Foundation and David and Barbara Hollenbach, whose generous donation made in honor of their parents, David Miller and May E. Hollenbach. This would not be possible. We don't have a definite closing schedule yet. I'm hoping to have that sometime this month, but we will announce it. In anticipation, we're looking at around Thanksgiving, and we will remain closed through the Christmas holiday. We should reopen tentatively the first or second week of January, but like I said, we're not final on this. It's just a kind of a good rough date to know. We'd like to remind all of our members and researchers that when we close, we will not be doing research requests and we will not be accepting new donations, because the library is literally going to be in disarray. We're going to have things all
Every
over
book
the
must
place.
come off every shelf.
Yeah, all the books in the staff room are going to
undertaking.
be in the research room. If you do submit a research request during this time, we ask that you just be patient with us. They will be filled in the order in which they were received as soon as we reopen in January. Once we reopen in January, all of our services will be reinstituted. Just please bear with us during this process. I'd also like to point out that we will be installing the shelving almost 2 years to the month that we moved into the building. So it will also mark the 2-year anniversary of the library. So we're very much looking forward to this process.
That's great. Thank you, Kim. I believe do we have a home viewer, did you say? Home viewer. Yes, home viewer.
Yes. Well, the Astor movie theater that used to be on the 700 block of Penn Street.
734.
Yeah, whatever happened to the sign there?
Someone rescued the sign because they felt it was a civic responsibility, and then they got tired of it and had it shredded.
I thought that I heard that, but I wasn't really 100% sure about that.
That's the answer. It was shredded.
I thought they were supposed to put that use that at the Sovereign Center at one point.
No, that was never going to happen.
Never.
No. We did save some of the ornate, the Art Deco or Art Moderne fixtures that you do see, like the balcony railing and so forth. That was saved. No, there was never any plan to reuse that sign. It was in pretty bad shape. It was rusty,
okay.
and it was big. No, that was never in the. That was shredded, unfortunately.
I wasn't sure what happened to it because I heard something happened to it, but I wasn't really 100% sure.
Yes, it was shredded. Thanks for calling.
Okay, you too.
Okay, may we have the next picture? I think I recognize him. I came across a picture on eBay, a very early one. I think it was a Patton and Lee photograph. It was a tiny little thing, like 2 by 3 inches. And about 2 by 3 inches, what page is that?
90.
Okay, about 2 by 3 inches. And I commented to Joshua, our curator, about that particular picture, and I thought it was rather interesting. And he said, you know, we have a painting that looks very much like that. So he got it out, and I photographed that painting. It was Patton and Lee. I'm guessing that, by the way, in case you don't know what we're looking at there, we are on the West Shore bypass, which is built right over the old Union Canal, which closed in October of 1884. We're looking downriver. We're looking sort of southward, and the old Lebanon Valley Railroad Bridge is visible there in the picture, so we know that the picture was taken before 1877 because we had a railroad strike in 1877 and they torched the Lebanon Valley Railroad Bridge, so that bridge had to be replaced with what's, well, sort of what's there today. And on the other side of the Schuylkill, you see part of the Schuylkill Canal. So as we are on the West Shore bypass looking downriver, the Schuylkill Canal on the Reading side and the Union Canal on the West Reading side. Now let's take a good look at that picture while we change to the next view. And that's that very same view. And I just wonder, they must have taken the picture and gone there, or they painted it from the photograph, because surely the photograph did not follow the painting, because the fencing that's on there also appears on the photograph. In other words, that scene taken with the camera, it was a picture 2 by 3 inches, is the same thing that's on one of our paintings.
Is that the one in the library? The picture? This one?
I'm not sure where that is right now.
Okay.
Yeah, but I think we do have one of those in the files, though, in the picture file.
Mm-hmm.
There were the people who took those pictures, and the stereopticon photographers years back, usually took 3 or 4 shots of the same scene, and they would move the camera maybe 3 feet one way and 4 feet the other way. So they were all very similar, but they were different. The next one, please. This building, I'm sure some of us will remember. That was in the memory of some of the older people who are watching, the visiting nurses used to be in there. And at one time, the medical society was in that large building. That, let's see, what do they call that today? Burke's AIDS Network. Burke's AIDS Network is on that site today. That would be on Walnut Street between 4th and 5th. On the north side. At the time that that picture was taken, and I have to thank Dr. William Kerr of Why Missing for making these pictures available. That was a splendid home that really was built by William Griscom, who was an industrialist years back, and his daughter was a school teacher in Reading a long, long time ago. But that was last used by the visiting nurses on the left-hand side and the medical society on the right-hand side. They tore that down. When did they tear that down? I watched them, 57. Yeah, they tore that down about 56 or 57, because I did watch them tear that down, unfortunately. I hate to see that go. And they put up the new Medical Society building. Now, they have since vacated that, and it's now the Burke's AIDS Network building on that site. Next one, please. We're going inside. I put this picture in to show what the interior looked like when they used that for a school. Remember, folks, this was an elegant mansion that was converted to a school. I don't know whether you can see it on your home sets, but that ceiling is rather impressive, as is the gasolier that you see at the top. Very, very attractive thing. There's a piano over the right-hand side and a chalkboard in the center. The next. That's the faculty. In the front row are the teachers. When you look at this picture close up, you have to be impressed by the fact that these are awfully good-looking kids, and they are dressed elegantly. So my best guess is that was not an inexpensive school to attend, because they really, well, these were the sons and daughters of Reading's elite at that time. Now, there's no getting away from that. In the front row, we have Annie Kerr, dead center, that's that woman, and to the left of her is Principal Samuel W. Kerr, who ran the school for a while, closed it down, and spent the rest of his teaching career at Reading Boys High School. Reading Boys High School. Next one. This is a dandy. Take a good, can you, I don't know, is it possible? I guess we can't do anything about that. In the front row, see that little boy?
Right here.
In the front row.
Yes.
Yes. 3 guesses who that little boy is. What page is that?
110.
110. Okay, that little boy is known to virtually everyone who's sitting at home watching this TV program.
It's you.
No, it isn't I. That is, what page?
110A.
I got my pages out of order. Well, anyhow, that is someone who will be known to most people, and he was, I wonder, go to the next one, the next picture. That's the same person. He was 14 at the time that previous picture was taken. That's Max Hassel, who was sometimes called the millionaire newsboy. As a late teenager, he was extremely well fixed. He was very energetic, very enterprising. Max Hassel, in that first picture, he worked 1 year, part of 1 year, can we go back to that one, part of 1 year as a cash boy at Pomeroy's, DP&S. And he was in that picture. He was with that team at the time that picture was taken. Okay. He went on to bigger things. It's amazing how many breweries he was involved with during the time that he was involved with the brewing industry. He had the Reading Brewery. He had virtually all of them. Lauer's, up there, Fisher's up in 11th Street. So he did extremely well for him. I have a long story in the book on Max Hassel, the whole thing about his career, and it's a very interesting one. As a teenager, he was, very enterprising, and he made a lot of money in the cigar business before he went into other pursuits. The next one, please. I'm sure everyone recognizes this. Take a good look at that. Because it really hasn't changed all that much, except that the store on the left-hand side is closed, and so has the post office. That's the Yellow House Hotel, built in 1801. The Yellow House Hotel in 1801. Take a good look at that, and we're going to go back. That picture was taken, let me think, about let's see, the store was still open, so was the post office. About 1955, I guess. The next picture is going to take us back 50 years before that, and notice if you...
That one?
Yeah. Now, those of you with keen vision notice that there are quite a few trees in the front, which somewhat obscure the details. But with the picture lying before you close up, you can get a pretty good idea. That was an incredible place. The old pump in the front. Yellow House Hotel, one of the major landmarks. Sometime I'll tell the story about how they changed the sign on the Yellow House Hotel from 1860 to 1801. Anyhow, tell your friends about our program, which is on live the first Wednesday of each month at 7. It repeats Friday at 10, Saturday at 6, and Sunday morning at 9 a.m. Thanks to today's program associates, Kimberly Richards and Vicki Hefner. I'm George M. Miser, your host, and I look forward to having you join us again on the first Wednesday in November 2010. Thanks for watching.